the recap. Hey everyone, welcome to the Gathering Paracast here on the Cryptovania Network. My name is Heidi.
And I'm Stephanie, and welcome to another Wednesday. And we have a
Yes.
special guest this evening, Heidi.
Yes, we do. We have John Savage with us from Savage Paranormal, and we're happy to have you with us tonight. Thanks, John, for being here.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Now, you are a fellow Minnesotan, now currently in Virginia. Correct? Good. All right. So we are happy to have you join us tonight. As a fellow investigator, it's always fun to have other investigators on the show, and especially someone from Minnesota. It's always cool to trade stories, the familiar places that we've all probably been here in Minnesota. But tonight, we wanted to hear about something that was a little different. So we're going to do that in a minute. But I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background in, how you got into paranormal, how long you've been doing it.
Well,
let us have it.
Well, I started in the paranormal back in 1989, and I was kind of dabbling in it, hitting cemeteries like everyone else does. And then in 1990 is when I formed my first paranormal group, which was called the Minnesota Paranormal Investigators Group, which is known as MINPIG at the time. And that group is still going to this day. So we've been around for about 30, if I do my math right, 35 years.
That's
so
great.
We're kind of like the oldest group in Minnesota. We started out just like everyone else, hitting cemeteries and the well-known public places. And we slowly got into doing the private investigations. And that's where a lot of the meat and potatoes of an investigator will start, with the private investigations. And there's some that are just, they're okay. But there are some that just really will change your views of being an investigator. And one of them is what we're going to talk about tonight. That changed my perspective of being an investigator.
So let me ask you, because you said that you started out in some of the public venues, cemeteries, and then there's other haunted or claimed haunted locations here in Minnesota. And then you said, and then you kind of started getting into private investigations. Was that not the original plan when you started?
Not originally. For me, when I got started, I was more curious about life after death. I was kind of revisiting my religious beliefs. Was there more to life than what we're being taught? So that's how I got into it. And then once I developed my website, started talking to other people who joined my group. Next thing I know, I was getting emails from people saying, hey, I saw your website. I saw you on KARE 11, or I was on KS95 at the time. Hey, can you come and check our house out, see what's going on? And from there, it just kind of snowballed from that point. So, the first couple investigations, it was more of a trial by error because I really didn't know what I was doing. Because I didn't know what tools to use, how to approach it. But after a while, I realized that there's more to an investigation than going in, getting EVP recordings, taking pictures, and what have you. There's a deeper part of it that a lot of people don't realize unless they've been in the field for a long time.
So what made you think paranormal investigating? Because I think, Steph, you and I have talked about this before, where we've gotten into paranormal because we saw the TV shows.
Exactly.
Back in the early 2000s, 2000s, we were watching taps on TV. So what was going on there, John? Because that stuff wasn't around in 1990.
Well, it wasn't. And are you
No.
sensitive, intuitives? Are you able to sense? Okay. So this is so strange because both Heidi and I do, right? And so I'd seen ghosts my whole life. So that's what prompted me to do this, but not so much for you, and way back before the shows even,
Well, when the shows that I had available were, In Search of with Leonard Nimoy back, I'm dating myself, back in the 70s. And then the TV show Sightings, which came out in the 90s, I believe. And you also had, the greatest one, Unsolved Mysteries, that really got me going. But mediumship, I kind of slid into that. I always believed that we all had gifts. And one of the houses that really sparked my interest, because it was a group home for the handicapped, I found out through the grapevine that Echo Bodine and her brother actually did an investigation at this house. And I got in touch with her. And the next thing I know, I was taking her psychic medium course. And next thing I know, it's like, wow, I'm actually a medium, which was great because I learned a lot from her. And I used that with my investigations. Now, granted, there are times where as a medium, you have to step away. You can't know about the location. And luckily, I had a lot of good team members who took the intake information before I got there. But I can also use it to validate, there's something here. You might want to set up the cameras. You might want to do an EVP and record the session that I'm doing. And we would get other voices during that session. So, yeah, it just kind of evolved throughout the years.
Nice. Well, that's I don't know. I think that's pretty cool I mean, the paranormal and kind of, being a paranormal investigator has ebbed and flowed over the generations, but really with the type of equipment that we're using now is relatively new. And that was really rare back in the 90s. So cool that you were like, I'm going for it. I'm going to figure this out. So
I mean, and then a lot of the gear that we use, we built ourselves, and we had to use old technology. And still to this day, I'm actually going back to my original gear, using the Polaroids, using the 35 millimeter films, using regular cassette tapes now, because everything in this digital age can be changed and faked. So as an investigator, you have to be careful with your evidence and how you present it. So as long as you have that hard copy, negatives and things like that, that gives you a little bit more credibility as an investigator.
Yeah, cool. Oh, I love it. I love it. So anything else you want to talk about before we dig into the meat of the show?
We can go on for hours about how the field has changed since I started, to the ethics on how to be an investigator and what to do and how to help people, and the different hats that we as investigators have to wear and have to look at an investigation with open eyes and outside the box, not to come out and say, oh, yes, your house is haunted. Well, no, you need to do your research and base your evidence off of time investigating versus walking in 1 hour saying, yes, it's haunted. You can't do that.
Right. The Calling Radio show in the chat room is asking, do you think of yourself as a paranormal investigator or a ghost hunter? Because there's a difference.
Yes. Or a para-entertainer.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good one. A para-entertainer.
It is. I'm actually a paranormal investigator. So when I do my investigations, it takes us at least 3 months to investigate one location, because we have to get that evidence. We have to get a baseline. We have to understand what's going on, not just from a scientific point of view, but also from the social point of view. What's happening in the family structure? How's that playing to the events that's happening? So there's a lot of pieces, and it takes a long time. So I'm a paranormal investigator, not a ghost hunter.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And any other questions from the chat room, we'll make sure that we get them to you so that you can answer those before the end of the show. So anybody that has questions. But I would love, so when we were talking before the show, or, a few days ago, I said, well, let's talk about something that's like a private investigation. Public ones, they're all fine and good, but let's get into the hardcore stuff. And you said, I've got one. You didn't even hesitate.
I've got one for you. So it's a house up in my hometown of Malacca. And it's a house that was on the market for, I think it was like 4 or 5 years. And only 2 other people looked at that house in that time frame. The wife and I went up there. We walked through. You could feel something wrong with this house. Okay. We had an event that happened as we're touring the house. Someone was tugging on my shirt. We saw a door open, and the wife and
So
I
while
bought
you're just taking a tour.
exactly. So we
Okay.
bought the house knowing it was haunted. And oh, it gets better. And after a couple months, things started happening. Doors will open, tables would be moved around, and what have you. Fast forward about a year and a half later, we came back from the investigation, and this is the biggest fear of all paranormal investigators: bringing something with you. And I always kind of poo-poo the whole thing. It's like, yeah, if you do your grounding right and everything, you should be fine. Well, unknowns to me,
Here we
we
are.
here we are. We brought something home. And at first, we couldn't distinguish between the resident spirit and this unknown entity until it started to affect my stepson. My
Mm.
stepson is slightly autistic, so he does have some issues. Um, he kept talking about someone waking him up at night, someone pulling him out of bed, throwing the covers around. Um, we noticed things happening upstairs, lights turning on and off, which really freaked me out. I'm going, wait a minute, what's going on? Of course, I don't have my cameras running. Why would I?
Yeah.
Typical investigator, nothing's ready to go. Then one day I was at work and my wife calls me. She goes, get home quick. Something happened. Upstairs was trashed. And I sent you some of the photos. We had rooms with flip beds. That's one of them. That's my son's room. And walking up the stairs, we've noticed like dry potato flakes up and down the staircase. The pictures were
What?
taken. Yeah, the pictures were taken off the walls. Written on one of the walls was "Get out." And if you look at the words "Get out" itself and how it's spelled, and look at the other photos, you will start seeing a pattern of handwriting.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that picture there is the day that my wife called and said, "Come home." I told my boss, "Hey, I gotta go home because something just happened." My boss is like, "I've heard a lot of stories of trying to get out of work early. I'm gonna come with you."
Oh, okay.
We get home and we're thinking our house was vandalized. Someone broke in, but only the upstairs part of the house was affected. All of my gear was thrown about on the floors. The beds were thrown in the hallways. Pictures were taken off the walls. There was syrup dripping off the walls. In one of the photos, you see the word "Get out." You can see a
Mm-hmm.
liquid coming off. My boss went downstairs to use the facilities, and then she came out and she went back in within maybe 30, 40 seconds and screamed. We went down there, and written in shaving cream were the words "Get out." She's like, you know what? Take the day off.
Take the week off. Take the month off.
and just go. So fast forward, we're cleaning everything up. We're trying to figure out what's going on. And we noticed that this entity was focused around my stepson. It would move things in his room. It would put Legos together. I mean, there was items dropping from the ceiling out of nowhere. I mean, we just couldn't figure it out. And as an investigator, we're finally setting up our cameras. We start getting things going. Then I decided to do a really stupid idea. What is the connection with this spirit and my son? So I decided to do an experiment. And what I did was, and I'm not proud of this, but you understand why I did it. I went upstairs and I just ragged on him as hard as I could as a dad. Your room's a mess. I wanted to see if there was a reaction from the spirit, from my son's reaction. As my son was getting upset, we could hear the tables downstairs flipping. We could hear glass being thrown. The more upset he became, the louder and more devastation was happening on the main floor.
Okay.
One of the photos that was just shown was in the bathroom that says "hate him." Now remember, think
Yeah.
of this as a kid. They're going to spell it as they hear it. That was written with ketchup. right when I was yelling at my son. So he was affecting my son. He was saying hate him as in hate me for what I was doing to
Got
yelling at
it.
my son.
Mhm.
That was the moment that I felt as an investigator I failed. Because and I began to understand what a client feels like when they're terrified and being tormented by a spirit, by an entity that they can't defend themselves.
Yeah.
All the gear in the world will not protect you. It will not solve the problem. I felt as helpless as our clients. There's
Mhm.
nothing I can do as a parent to protect my family, to
Yeah.
protect my son from this entity. We got him out of the house. Everything calmed down. We started cleaning things up, and we finally decided to put rules down. You know, we asked the spirits in the house to help us, and after I think it was about a month, this entity of a child finally left my son alone and left the house. And I look at that as a lesson learned as an investigator that what we do during an investigation affects the family. You know, at the end of the investigation, we get to go home.
Mhm.
The family has to deal with the aftermath of the mess or of the stuff that we stir up. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of people don't understand that
Yeah.
of how helpless that these our clients feel. And I felt that helplessness. I mean, I sat there almost in tears. It's like, what did I do? I can't physically hold this entity and throw it out of the house. I can't
Yeah.
protect my family. That changed everything for me from that
Okay.
point on as an investigator. Now, granted, you know, we had a lot of other things going on in the house. We had the furniture being tipped and stacking pillows on top of the coffee table.
Mhm.
You know, we would have again lights turning on and off. We would have all the cabinets in the kitchen open and close. Um,
So did all of that we saw in the photos, did that all happen at the same was that the same event? Or was that over time?
that most of it was the same event. There's one photo where it's looks like it's taken in. It was taken on the first floor of my girl's room, and it says on the wall. Okay, that's
Mm.
my son's room upstairs.
Okay.
Um, there's the get out, and watch how that G is spelled. Okay, that was the living room the night that we were doing that experiment, and that's from just different angles. And I think the next, okay, that's the bathroom where it says "get out."
Mhm.
Right there, it says "get out or I get you,"
Oh, yeah.
and that was written on my daughter's bedroom wall. And there's the word "hate him,"
Mm.
spelled like
Mm.
hat. But
Yeah.
again, it was they were sounding it out as they would spell it.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
it like, the one that says, "Get out or I get you," that was, I think, a couple days after the, um, the event that we had.
So it's all tied to the same thing though.
It was all tied in. And, you know,
Okay.
and I saw a lot of weird things, you know, I saw an RC car move by itself, and as an investigator, I was intrigued, but I had to put that aside to protect my family.
Yeah.
And after the thing left, you know, we still had, you know, Josephine and Albert, who were the spirits in the house, who were the original owners from the 1800s. You know, they stuck around. You know, they would do silly things like take my truck keys and hide them. And then 3 months later, there they are underneath the dining room table. You know,
You lose
they
your
would do,
keys for 3 months?
yeah,
That's a long time.
yeah. I lost the keys to my truck for about 3 months. And right
What
before
the
Thanksgiving, I was mopping the floors and there they were underneath the table. It's like,
I go nuts if I can't find my keys for 3 minutes.
yeah.
I mean
But But after that event, I had to redo our whole investigation. I had to make everyone in my group understand that what we do has consequences during an investigation.
How long ago was this?
Mhm.
Let's see. I moved to Virginia in 2017, so that would have been. I gotta look at my wife; she would know. 2010. 2010, 11, 2012, 2013, somewhere in that time frame.
So it's not that long ago.
No.
You had been investigating for a
A
while
long
at this
time.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
So
I was trying to use all my resources and all my knowledge to really investigate and understand what's going on. And as an investigator, I failed. You know, it doesn't matter if you have EMF meters and EVP
No.
tapes going, and this is why I tell people when you investigate, you have to understand the social aspects
Yes.
of it. You have to
Yes.
understand that you have to be a psychologist at times. You have to be a counselor. You have to listen and be, have empathy for the people, because going in and smudging is not going to solve the situation. In fact, it will even make it worse.
yeah, it depends on what's going on.
Yeah.
You have to, every situation is going to be different, and you have to understand that as an investigator, like you're saying. You have to know, like, hey, it's not a cookie cutter approach.
Yeah.
No.
People say, well, why didn't you smudge the house and stuff? It's like, well, because smudging is more of a Native American ritual. And if you are dealing with a house, and this is where research comes into play, if you're dealing with a location and let's say the spirits are from a family from the 1800s, all right? And let's say the spirits were Catholics, and you go in doing saging. To them, a saging is witchcraft. That's going to make them upset.
Yeah, but saging clears the energy.
It does. It does.
I mean, it's the same with Palo Santo or any of that. It's all about intention, and you don't even have to use any of it if you use your intention.
Exactly. But I've seen other investigators go in, smudge a house, and the activity is off the scale. Things are being thrown, and it's
it depends on what they're doing.
Yes,
when they're doing the clearing. I mean, you can screw anything up.
Oh,
absolutely.
If you're good enough.
So yes.
and that's why I tell people, you got to understand what you're doing. Research the techniques. Talk to the seasoned veterans of investigators out there. Ask them, hey, I've done this and this doesn't work. What can I do? Or, is it really just simple walking around with a smudge stick and go,
no.
I compel you to leave? No. Leave that stuff away.
Right.
So
yeah. Interesting.
Well, you have to, and you also, our team goes by the motto of be kind to people and spirits, because spirits were people at one time. So, and I think a lot of paranormal investigators don't do that, or ghost hunters or whatever. It's like and we have plenty of calls from people saying, can you come smudge my house? Can you come clear it? There's something going on. And our first thing is, no, if you really think there's paranormal activity, we need to come and figure out what it is first. Before we do that,
See, I'm a big fan of letting the spirits stay. I'm an amateur archaeologist. So, I look at it from a historical point of view. This is a part of history. Don't get rid of it because you're afraid. Let's educate you on why it's haunted, what's going on, and give you the tools to, look at it from a different point of view. One of the things as investigators that we need to learn how to do is take the fear out of the equation. Once you take that fear, which is a very powerful energy to begin with, and you take it away from the client and give them the tools and the power to control the situation, more than likely the haunting is going to kind of slow down a little. It's going to kind of not be as intense as it is before we got there. Living with it, understanding it, and putting down boundaries. If you're respectful to them, they're going to be respectful back to you. They're not a circus show, and people need to understand that.
Interesting. I'm a little bit, I'm on the other side of things, where I have a kind of a no tolerance policy of wayward spirits that don't need to be here. They can go.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't allow them in my house. Let's put it that way. If I know something's here, it's gone. It's vanished. I don't do that. And I have had things here.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, you're leaving. See ya, bye.
Yeah,
and if that's the case, I mean, that can be done. And usually the spirits are kind of like, okay, I understand. And sometimes, they're ready to go over and they just need someone to help them make that transition. So, there's different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so that was a big turning point for you in your investigating, and it sounds like you don't provoke anymore.
No.
No,
you
no,
learned
no.
the lesson.
Don't stir the pot because
Never do that.
they can see you, you can't see them. And that's the thing,
Wow.
they can do harm to us in certain ways.
Right.
But
And they don't
we can't turn around and grab them by the shoulders and throat punch them. We're at a disadvantage. So don't pick a fight with something you can't see.
No. Well, try not to pick a fight with anybody, period.
Yeah.
That's my motto.
It's a good point though that you bring up with making sure that the end result is good for everybody.
Yes.
Because that's something that I know, Steph, your group is like that too, where we're looking at this situation and yes, I want feedback from the homeowner as like, what do you feel is the resolution you're looking for? Like, what do you want?
Right.
And then we need to make sure it also aligns with what's going on spiritually, because what they want might be to keep the spirits, and what might not be a good idea is the spirits to stay. So, it's making sure everything's good on both ends of things. And then would I live there?
Yes.
Like when I'm done with whatever I'm doing, would I feel comfortable living there? Because to your point, John, you don't want to leave and be like, well, good luck.
Yeah.
You might die, but
exactly.
I get to go home and go to bed. So, have
Yeah.
fun. Like you don't want to leave someone in a mess. And I know that there's groups out there and stuff. You and I have both heard of groups here
Yeah.
that
For
have
sure.
messed things up pretty bad.
Oh, for sure. And then they call us and say, oh my God, can you help?
Yeah.
Yep,
So we want to
exactly.
be mindful of that.
But I think a lot of people call because they're not uncomfortable with these spirits, but they want substantiation that this is happening, right? Because they think they're losing their minds and they're not afraid, really. They just want us to say, oh, yeah, this is what's happening and this is what we caught. Now, what do you want to do about it? Sometimes they say nothing. They're fine.
Normally, during an investigation, we'll have the homeowners be part of the team.
Yes. We do that occasionally as well.
Especially if we're doing EVP sessions or things like that. It's like, you know what? This is your house. They're going to listen to you more than us strangers walking in.
Yes.
They're going to look at us and go, who are you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to them. And when it comes to having a spirit removed, we actually have the homeowners put down their foot and say, you know what, this is our house. These are our friends, but what I say goes.
Nice.
We give them that power back. And
good.
Exactly.
And it helps them too, because it takes the fear out, but it gives them control back to their own lives, back to their own space. And as investigators, that's what we need to do.
Yes.
Yep.
I agree.
Absolutely. Wow.
Well, awesome.
That was good. I like it.
Good chat.
Yeah.
That's an interesting story. I know you said it was a game changer for you, and I can see why. So thank you for sharing that.
Not a problem. I hope other people who are listening take that to heart, that what we do have consequences.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, it was great, having you with us tonight, and we'd love to have you back sometime to hear about some of your other adventures. So definitely stay in touch.
Anytime.
And but thanks for being on tonight. It was really interesting and eye-opening for sure.
Oh, I got plenty more good stories for y'all.
I can only imagine. And we have your TikTok page up. The site there is on the screen. So you guys, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, that's how they can get a hold of you. Is that correct?
That is correct. Or you can follow me on Facebook, under John Savage. Just look for that logo. That's my new group that I'm forming down here. Savage Paranormal.
Okay. Nice. Well, that sounds perfect.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to all of you watching, commenting, whatever. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay. If you haven't done it yet, do it. Thank you to our service members who are out there who might be watching or listening to the podcast eventually. Thank you for your service, and please be safe.
Yes, and everybody in the chat room, thanks for hopping in and joining us live. And wherever you are out there listening to us, thank you for joining. And we also want to say thank you to Cryptovania TV for for hosting our show, and Jason Trost for producing, most amazing producer. So thank you. And next week, Steph, what is it?
Oh, it is the Paranormal Smorgasbord.
So bring your topics, everybody.
Bring them in. This is your show. We might have a couple, but we want them from you as well. So
drop into the chat room with your paranormal topics and we'll hash it out.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks again.
Good night.